So Patrick, can you tell us more about Shwari Group?
Okay. So Shwari Group, you actually asked me what we were just when we met today. So I think I will just give you a short description. It's not a very famous brand, but we must still be today the largest media company in the Middle East. We do not own media ourselves, but if you've heard of NBC, Dubai TV, Angami, Maudur, Kura, we actually generate the revenues for all those media players. 40 years ago, we started that. We were actually a very disruptive startup in the media space. Our founder in Lebanon was knocking doors to sell ad space in newspapers. At the time, advertising was mostly about print, and we managed to consolidate those players. When the radios came to the region, when the first private TV started airing in the Middle East, we also became their monetization partners. So we became a big and rich company, but today we're losing ground. Did we see Facebook and Google come so big into our space? The answer is no. Did we anticipate the massive shift of media consumption towards social platforms? Again, no. And in the last 2 years, have we anticipated the shift of advertising money from brand to performance marketing? Again, no. So we're slowly becoming a dinosaur, and my job in the group is actually to reconnect the company with the innovation ecosystem, and there is no better way to do it than to invest with startups. Especially when we can be smart investors, open doors for them, develop synergies, and from their side they can help us become more agile and relevant again.
So to restate what you have said, you are the biggest media company in MENA region. And,
probably still today by revenues, yeah. Google is getting very big though.
Okay. And your main mission is to drive revenues for big media companies like, for example, Quora, like
Correct.
NBC,
Yeah.
etc.
Yeah. All
so there is publishers in one side and there is Shwari in the other side who manages the money part.
We're in between the big agencies, the big advertisers, the PNGs, the GMs of this world, and the media owners.
من فضلكم s'il vous plaît, moins de bruit. شكرا.
So, but when you become a rich, so we used to be a startups, as I said. So you find your magic formula, you expand, you dominate your market, you become big, and that's where the problem starts.
Okay.
And that's the life cycle of any company, you know. When you're rich, you become more complacent, you have bureaucracy, you basically stop innovating. So that's where we are today. We are probably in the middle of this graph, and it's the danger zone for us.
So your role is to reconnect a big company like Shwari with innovation. Connecting a very huge company with innovation, which is not very easy because we know that startups are more flexible than big companies, and your role is to do this job.
They need to shake us, basically.
Okay.
They need to shake us.
So why does a large media company like Shwari invest in startups?
Exactly for that, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where do you invest? Which markets are really attractive for you?
Okay, so we mostly invest in the Middle East region, GCC, Jordan, Egypt, Lebanon. We haven't done anything in Morocco yet. We started in content, in digital content platforms, because something that we know how to do is when you have a massive traffic, we know how to monetize that with advertising revenues. And we still do it at CPMs much higher than other platforms or than Google. Our first investment was actually Maudur. Which is today the biggest website in the Middle East. We also have an advertising tech strategy, but I have to say that I'm not very happy with this. We haven't done much so far. I hope it's going to change in the coming months. In the meantime, what we've done is we started investing in some e-commerce startup, mostly branded e-commerce and destinations in niche marketplaces, because that's where we can help with our media. So typically, we invest some cash at the beginning, and once they have reached some KPIs in terms of scalability, market coverage, client retention, lifetime value. If you're in Saudi, you need an app, because in Saudi is an app market. Then we can boost them with our offline media. There is nothing better still today than TV to build brand equity and to build trust. What we know is that they will never buy. You will not buy your perfume or your skincare product or your contact lenses on Amazon, Souk, or Noon. You're gonna go to a trusted website or platform where you can find your products at the right price with convenient delivery, and we can help build this trust.
Are you talking about specific behavior of MENA region or in general? Are MENA region people?
We've seen that everywhere. So basically, before investing in any startup in the MENA region, we look at what happened in Europe, in the US, and we're trying to find the team that can best adapt, localize this model, and execute in the region. Just maybe to show you one example of what traditional media can still generate for an e-commerce platform. So that's one of our investments. It's already a multi-million-dollar company. What we did last summer is, their challenge is basically that scaling for them is becoming more and more expensive. So digital acquisition, you have competition, CPMs go up. So we tried to use a mix of TV and radio campaign to actually scale them up, at the same time reduce the cost of acquisition.
Which company is this?
I cannot tell you because you have some figures there, and I'm not supposed to share the name. But what we've seen is that actually, yes, we managed to thanks to the TV impact, and we were constantly adjusting the campaign. We were seeing which channels on NBC were performing best, at what time of the day you can reach this audience, because they're going to be more responsive then. So we managed basically to put them on track with 100% revenues growth rate compared to last year. At the same time, the digital cost of acquisition went back to an acceptable level.
Because there is brand awareness.
Because you're building brand equity, and you're basically building this halo effect. You're going to see your CTRs going up because people recognize your brand, so they're going to click more easily. You're going to see your brand search going up as well. So these are the KPIs we monitor. And the last thing also that we discovered is that you have a lot of B2B effect. Some suppliers that didn't want to work with this startup actually started calling them, we want to have your products our products on your platform. And even worse than that, some banks started calling them to offer working capital loans, basically. Because if you're on TV, you're a big company, so I can trust you. So this is the whole impact, and that we're trying to replicate.
So to reformulate, you invest mainly in branded e-commerces?
Yeah, it has to be branded. We personally believe that that's where the market is going to shift. The stickiness, once you have a good name, clients, as long as they're happy with you, they're going to come back to you. That's what Amazon today has a fantastic brand, and people go there just for the name.
Yeah. So branded e-commerces and marketplaces, for example, plus advertising, tech, softwares, or technology?
Advertising tech, let's say in the Middle East, we haven't seen much happening, but definitely we need to catch up. What I've seen just today and yesterday here shows that a lot is happening and that the market is catching up. Okay.
And you are also talking about digital content. So you are also talking about publishers who are targeting MENA region.
Yeah.
So Arab content.
Yeah.
And you evoked the موضوع.
Yeah.
Which added value was to address content that was not really present in Google. So they did this, and
yeah, let's say Maudu, what they're very good at is actually, they understood that there is a gap in Arabic content.
Okay.
So it's I think the fourth language in the world, but the online content in Arabic is something less than 1% of what is globally online. So that's where those guys managed to build a model where they're addressing those questions, any type of questions. I have something under my arm, is it serious? I want to change the battery of my car. I want to make a recipe. So they did it better than anyone else by using a network of experts, and that's what we loved with this model. Yeah.
Okay, great. So what will make you decide to invest or not in a company?
We are very dull investors, right? So any startup that makes it to our investment committee has to tick 5 boxes. It's as simple as that. The first box is, are those, I mean, is there a real problem to solve? What are you trying, which pain point are you trying to solve? It's about shifting consumers' habits, B2B dynamics. We're looking again at what happened in other markets to understand what they're trying to solve, and is this problem in the MENA region big enough?
Okay.
The second question is, can they solve it better than anyone else? And there it's about the team, it's about the value proposition, what is the competition, is your model defensible? Can people easily copy you if you're successful, or can you keep a certain distance? So that's about the basically execution and the business model. The third question, which is quite simple to address in e-commerce, but not so much in content, and is about who in the chain is willing to pay for that. Sometimes you believe that it's the consumers, but actually the B2B clients are going to pay for that. I always remember meeting a guy in the US who invented the first self-checking kiosks in the airports. Initially, he wanted to charge $10 for everybody to actually check in at the kiosk in the airport. And then he discovered that the airlines were dying to pay for it because it was reducing their cost and optimizing, reducing the queues and all that. So you have to be agile enough to understand if someone and who is ready to pay for the problem to be solved. In content, it's going to be usually advertising, although we are seeing some models like Angami, of course Netflix, where people start paying for content, but usually advertising is key, and you need to understand if advertising revenues can be big enough to pay for the platform. If you have addressed those three questions, the next one will be can we help as Shweri Group? And not only with the money, because we are not a financial investor. We really want to help with our footprint. So can we help with our medias? Can we open doors for them? And if the answer is positive, we then come to the last question that will decide whether we invest or not. It's about valuation. Is your valuation fair compared to other deals in the same space? We start seeing a lot of companies that are a little bit inflated in terms of valuation because you have more money on the table today in the Middle East. So sometimes we just prefer to decline a good deal because we believe the price is just not where it should be.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so about the team part, would you consider investing in a one-man show company? Let's say it's a very promising tech startup or a very promising e-commerce store, and the guy is grounded, and he looks for...
That's really the most difficult, because we don't like single founders startups. We've invested in a few, and that's usually where we had some bad experience. It's just that when you're a single founder, it's much more, you're much more likely to have a burnout, or to just give up because you're going to face adversity. And that's where being 2 or 3 is much more solid, and also you're less likely to go into the wrong direction or to persist in the wrong direction. 4 eyes or 6 eyes are always better to challenge yourself than 2. And I haven't seen any startup get it right from the beginning. You have to pivot, you have to adjust, and that's where more people help.
Sure. Can I get back to the previous question? Because I want to know what are the kind of added value that you can bring to a startup besides money, of course?
So, again, it can be monetization capabilities. It can be to connect them with, I would say, this network, more the old economy network, but you still have a lot of money there, B2B partners, or it can just be to build their brand equity. So to work with them on a creative that will work on TV and see where it resonates best, whether you complement that with digital retargeting. So we're building the whole media, the brand equity around that.
So you might be playing a role of accelerator, for example? Accelerator plus investor?
No, we definitely, I think it's easy for us once you have the right product, once you have the right traction, just to boost you. Yeah. The reach you can have through TV, radio is still massive, and it's going to build a lot of equity for your model.
Awesome. Okay, so do you prefer to invest in product-based or service-based online startups?
I would say we prefer product-based startups because it's always easier to ship a product to another country than to replicate a service offering in different geographies. I mean, you need to create new companies, you need to hire people in different markets, in different cities sometimes, and that's expensive. That's expensive. So it's not that we won't look at it, but we have to understand the cost of scalability.
Okay. المفروض تخفيض الصوت من السادة الكرام. Okay. What traction you require in a startup before you expect to knock your door?
For content, it's going to be organic traffic growth. For e-commerce startups, we will look at any platform that is in, let's say, at more than 2 million revenues run rates.
$2 million revenues per year?
Yeah, $2 million.
And what kind of profits?
Run rate. Profits is not so important. We want to see a path to profitability.
Okay.
Because funding today is pretty much available. I mean, at least has never been as available in the past. But winter can come, so okay. We don't want to be in a cash squeeze situation. We want to see some path to profits. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, let's talk now about some examples of startups that you invested in, like Golden Sand and Mawdu'. Yeah. I'm curious. I suggest that even the audience is curious about why. You invested in Golden Sand, which is a perfume brand in Saudi Arabia, right?
It's the largest perfume online platforms in Saudi. So they distribute all the brands, I mean, from Chanel to Dior, also the oud perfumes. The reason we invested with them basically is this. What those guys had built with $400K of seed funding, they had built a $10 million company, and that was their head office and logistic hub at the time we invested. So that's where you say to yourself as investors, okay, if we inject a few millions there, if we put them on TV, radios, we can definitely multiply that by 10, So far they're on track with the roadmap. It's a lot of challenges, of course, but we're very happy with this investment. Yeah.
Okay, so how were you able to identify them as a very promising startup in the MENA region?
The good thing when you're based in Dubai is that you have all this ecosystem of VC funds, so everybody knows each other. So you have a VC calling you, hey, I met those guys, they're interesting. We believe that with your media power, you could help them. Why don't you meet? And that's how those deals happen. Usually, we're not so much on the market to look for opportunities because they're coming to us through various filters.
Okay. Yeah. And I'm curious about how much money did you inject as a company in this startup?
In total, everything, I would say, we're still pretty small. It must be in the 20 million something US range so far, yeah. Okay. My budget is not huge. I mean, as in the traditional media industry, we have a kind of a downturn these days, so I cannot invest tons of money. Okay. But we can still make like 6-7 deals a year. From like the lowest amount we're going to invest for a seed round will be 250K. We can go up to 4 or 5 millions. Yeah, that's our range. That's our sweet spot.
So to put it differently, Golden Sand represents the kind of marketplace or let's say branded e-commerce that you're looking for in MENA region, because they were able to get to $10 million in less than 2 years, given that they started only with the seed fund. Friends.
And actually they found the seed money not even in the region at the time. They found it in Germany. Okay. Those guys had made the studies in Germany.
They didn't find money in Saudi Arabia, but they found it in Germany.
Yeah, exactly. The money
from their friends in Germany?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you're looking for this type of entrepreneurs who are not giving it up quickly.
Yeah, correct. We did a few others recently. Aiwa is one of them. We invested in seed stage in Aiwa. They are selling everything from sunglasses to contact lenses, and they're very successful.
Okay. Let's move now to Mawdu.com.
Yeah.
Who knows here Mawdu.com? Okay, Shawari Group invested in Mawdu.com, and he will explain to us how And why did they invest in them?
Yeah, I think Maudu is the kind of under-the-radar platform like Ask.com in the US. You have some models in Europe. So they're not very visible, but from the day we met those guys, we understood that they could make it to the number one position in the Middle East because they had a very successful model, and it wouldn't take a lot of cash to get there. They made it in 2 years. They went from 4 million unique users a month to 45 million today.
In 2 years only?
Yeah, in 2 years, 2.5 years. So of course, because they grew so much traffic, we were able to give them more money, and then they say, what are we going to do with the money? We set up a full AI team now that is trying to exploit all the data we are gathering on those millions of users that are coming to the platform every week. And I think much more is to come from Maudu. I mean, it's not only a content platform now, it's becoming really a kind of data AI play.
Okay. And what type of e-commerce companies you would be on the lookout for in your future investments?
So probably everything that is in niche verticals where a good brand can make a difference.
Like Rush Brush, for example?
You can manage. I mean, Rush Brush is one of the examples here that really struck me. I mean, I think he understands what brand equity is, and I hope we're going to be able to help him at some stage. We like automotive as a space. I think it's incredible that the GCC in terms of automotive has the same size as the Australian market. You look in Australia, you have carsales.com, that is today a listed company that is worth $3 billion. In the middle,
Conseil.com.
Carsales.com. They have captured basically the whole chain of automotive. I think 30% of the cars sold in Australia are sold via their platform. In the Middle East, I mean in the Gulf especially, there is similar size. You look for automotive marketplaces, or you don't have anything that is above, I would say, $10 million valuation today. So I think a leader has to emerge. It has to happen somehow. We still like a lot the beauty space. I think there's a lot to do there, and some other more niche verticals. So, yeah, this should be our focus for the next 2 years.
Okay, so you mentioned the beauty niche and the automotive niche.
Yeah, beauty, automotive. Could be a few places outside of those, but
for example, 2 or 3 other examples.
Look, when you are in Europe and you're just switching on your TV, you have so many of those ads on very specific online models. I think there are a lot of those verticals that still remain to be captured. I'm not here to say which ones. I believe you have some smart entrepreneurs that will do it better than I do. But if it is a niche where margins are high enough and where the brand can make a difference, we're going to be there for sure.
Okay, perfect. Okay, end game. What's your end game strategy?
So I think everything we're doing is to remain as a media company on top of its game, to be the natural partner of sort of the key players in the new economy. And probably along the way, we're going to make some money, I hope. But that would be the dream scenario. Yeah.
Okay, and are you interested in North African market, for example?
Yeah, yes. I mean, Morocco specifically. I think it's a little bit far away from Dubai, so that's why we don't have such a good watch on this market. But very educated population, support from the government. A market that is big enough and with countries around also that can be an extension of it. So I think Morocco hopefully will make an investment here in the next 12 to 24 months, I hope.
Okay, so let me understand more. If we have here, for example, a brand here operating in Morocco, but who want to scale up to MENA region, for example, would you be a good partner for it?
I believe we should, yeah.
Okay, what are the conditions that should be reunited in this Moroccan e-commerce brand?
So scalability across other Middle Eastern region. I mean, the beauty we have in this market is the common language. There are other things that are not so nice. I mean, to cross borders, to ship products, you have customs. I mean, it's the opposite of Europe, basically. In Europe, you have so many different languages, but once you're in, you can basically operate in every country. So if we see something in Morocco that is scalable, that can capture a space that has been ignored by other startups in the Gulf or in the Levant, then for sure it's going to be of interest to us, yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Somebody's calling you.
Sorry, I forgot the flight mode.
Yeah.
Okay, 1 minute. It's over. Okay. Is there... Okay. Okay. So, if I understand in a proper way, you could be interested in a Moroccan company if it targets the MENA region and if it's
scalable to the other countries.
Okay, because here in Morocco we have the advantage of talking Arabic, which is the common language in MENA region. Yeah. So if there is here some publisher who has a promising startup or a promising content website with a lot of visitors coming from all around the world, and who is already making good revenues, who want to scale it up, maybe you should get connected to Patrick.
Yeah,
okay,
for sure.
and,
feel free.
What?
Feel free.
Feel free to connect with Patrick. He will be with us today. Maybe tomorrow? No?
Tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Yeah. I need to head back to Dubai then.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Patrick, for having been with us.
Most welcome.
And see you soon. Yeah.